What is good, everybody? So today I did want to go over one of the trades that was placed in our auto trader, which is here on USDJPY, giving you a strong sense of why we entered this. So again, that way you guys can get the needed education. So that way if you see this trade on your own, you'll be able to place it, make your own profits, and obviously progress in your own trading career. So the first thing we always want to do, as I'm always going to do when I jump onto a chart and I'm trading any market, I'm going to scale out to a higher time frame. Now, before I even get to that, before even scaling out to a higher time frame, before I forget, yesterday was a very news-heavy day. If anything, the strongest and heaviest news of the entire year for the majority of all markets. But obviously, us trading the U.S. markets primarily, you can see here FOMC, Fed rates, everything. So yesterday was a very um, volatile day and also unpredictable in the sense of the direction of where the market did in fact want to continue on going, because anytime you have economic or political type news or geopolitical news, you're going to have a strong fluctuation in the market itself. So we did see that yesterday, but still using technical analysis we were able to identify a really solid trade. And as I'm on the markets and looking at this at the time of recording, at least seeing it still push up on the daily just means that there are more profits on the trade itself in the auto trader. You can actually see that here, the auto trader place. I actually was able to find a re-entry here using this weird little strategy, but the entry being all the way down here, the first initial entry, as you see right here, are buys here for USDJPY in the auto trader. And again, I was able to find another re-entry, another so just to add some more profits into everybody's accounts. Once this heads up into a little bit more profits, I'll then move the stop loss into profitable fashion as well. So no matter what happens, this trade cannot lose. So just to go back to the analysis here for USDJPY on why we were able to get this as a positive trade, again taking into note that yesterday was a strong news day, I was trying to avoid trading during that time, but also understanding that you're going to reach a certain point where the market has to respect, right? No matter what news comes out, no matter what happens, it has to respect the original idea and characteristics and direction this market intended on going. You'll have that initial reaction during news, but after that, you'll have the market work in its original technical manner. So here being on the daily time frame, you could jump onto a higher time frame as well if you would like, but the daily time frame, at least for this market and at least for this trade, was at least is all I needed. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to identify the current condition of the market. We can see right now that this really isn't bullish or bearish, right? If I just draw this out right here, you can see that we're pretty much in a ranging market. I'll actually just draw it there. It's a ranging market, right? Because we can see the range high here, you can see the range low. So we'll actually just draw that out here. So range high, and then we have our range low. Definitely got to work on the color schemes on this and make them a little bit better, but you can see what I mean here, right? So the range high and the range low, meaning that this is the resistance and this is support. So it doesn't get too much as far as complication and trying to make trading hard, it doesn't really have to be that way in this sense, right? We can see right now that if we just use common sense and the idea of how to trade this, especially on a higher time frame, you're looking at what's considered your range, not just ranging market, but your PRZs, potential reversal zones. Anytime you're hitting one of these areas, and I'll just do this, right? You can see that the majority of this market, when it came to this price, it ended up buying from here multiple times. So that should be taken into consideration of, well, if this is on a higher time frame such as the daily, if it has bought from here previously before, it's probably going to buy from here once again, and then you can expect it to at least meet the range high before taking any type of profits. Right? That means it's going to be a really big move and a lot of profits without having to do any type of work whatsoever. I mean, especially on the auto trader, you're not doing anything regardless. But as you can see right here, that range, if we extend it, we look left to get right, we can see that it's not only just a part of a ranging market, but it's also a part of a level of previous and important structure. Everything revolves around price, support and resistance, supply and demand. However you want to call it, it is all the exact same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the range high, and we're just going to keep the lows here, because we can see that right now this is a strong level of support. So this level of support is being respected. Now we can't just dictate that this is going to be respected immediately once we hit this PRZ, our potential reversal zone. We obviously have to do a little bit more analysis to scale down to a smaller time frame, such as the 4 hour, 1 hour, and further if you would like. Now being here, I'm going to make this zone a little bit more appealing so it's not too crazy on the eyes. We're just going to draw. We're going to draw like this. We know it's extended further left, but we want to make sure that when we're doing our analysis, we're keeping our chart as clean and neat as possible. So what I'm looking at here kind of gives us an idea from yesterday's trade with a double top. If you didn't take a look at that, take a look at the analysis we did for CHF buys as well, and you're going to get a strong idea. I think actually no, not even, it was CAD JPY sells, not even any buys, but take a look at the analysis for that where there was a double top, because you're going to see something familiar with this as well. So again, we're coming back to this level of structure, so we can consider this a strong buy zone. So we'll just put buy zone. Now, anytime you are reaching a level of price and structure, support, resistance, supply, demand, no matter what you want to call it, when you are getting back into these areas, you want to identify characteristics of what could potentially happen next, right? This is called price action trading. You want to identify the most relevant price and then the actions that proceed within it, because that'll dictate your next potential trade. So I'll break this down even further as far as like, is this going to continue? What are targets and everything? But as far as the entry is concerned, we can see that this right here is a strong, again, buy zone. So me seeing this buy zone, I now want to identify anything that could show me that this market does in fact want to respect this price and then continue to, or not continue, wants to respect this price and then start to buy. It's no longer going to continue to sell. We can start to see buyers take over, and we want to continue in that direction with them. So what I can see again is a double bottom. So just identifying characteristics at this level of price, some actions, right? This is a double bottom. It did not break below, did not create a lower low. We can see that it closed within the same price point. And then we also had the immediate break of these highs. Now, obviously, our entries just a little bit lower. I wouldn't say jump the gun. I'll show you the characteristics of the entry on why we were really entering at these lows. But we had this double bottom. That double bottom is showing me, or at least the rejection of that price multiple times in such a short amount of time as well, is going to show me that this price is in fact being respected and the sellers are losing their strength. Now, this is where news came in, this candle here. As you can see here with this candle, it shows you a strong move. It had an immediate sell. It wanted to push lower. But what ended up happening? After everything corrected, the dust settled, it respected this this price point. It immediately climbed further up. Now we're going to scale down to the 1 hour. It immediately climbed back up within this price, leaving a wick to the downside. Here's a tip. Here's something I want everybody to take with you. Wicks equal rejection. Anytime, no matter what time frame it is, anytime I'm looking at a chart, my entries are usually coming off of the characteristics of a candlestick, and this being one of the best type of characteristics I want to see, or best variants, if you will, for a candlestick. I want to see wicks. I want to see rejection. I want to see the sellers really trying to push lower and then buyers completely taking them out and saying, no, you can't. And then they start taking over and showing you with this bullish engulfing candle that you see right here at a level of structure, strong structure at that. Now, we did in fact start breaking higher points. We did in fact have that retest. So you can see here at that double bottom, this candle came back to retest that level of structure. It's actually more like this for your initial entry. Market breaks out, creating this new high, comes back, retests the double bottom structure. You have your entries to the upside. And look at that continue to climb. They're making some good money on both of these entries in the auto trader. Geez, there you go. Right? So after you get your re-entry here, you have the break and the retest of this initial market, you enter your trade. Your stop loss, I would not suggest your stop loss being all the way down here because you usually want to have your stop loss at the next available low because obviously if this level of structure here is broken, it's going to continue and you want to mitigate your risk. You don't want to have a stop loss all the way down here because if it's going to sell, that stop loss would be hit. So stop loss definitely not being there, but it'll be right below the lows here, right? Where the before the market was affected by any news, you want to put it right below those lows. Obviously, no need for a stop loss right now because we're in some really nice profits on both entries. But you can see here, obviously being the entry, let me get rid of this, and then your targets. Where would you start taking profit from a trade like this? Let me go ahead and show you. So your first general idea is to, again, use structure. This could have been used as a target. I didn't use this as our target because I figured that, again, using the higher time frame, being the daily, we saw the range high. We were nowhere near that, so not even looking for this to be a target zone. But realistically, if you are looking to play it safe, take a trade, then just get out. You have a goal of reaching 30, 50 pips, and that's it. That's absolutely fine. This would be targets 1. Because again, this could be used, if we go ahead and replay this, it did actually have some type of resistance here. Imagine you place this trade, and then you go ahead and it starts doing this. It could eventually do this, but our patience, our psychology, we'll be like, oh my God, it's coming back to our entry. Then, you could use this as a target if you would like. But obviously that's not the case because we press play. It immediately shot back up. But I'm glad that we replayed that because as you see, why do we use price and why is price important? Because let's say you didn't enter down here and you got the break of this structure and it came right back down to retest that point. It immediately shot back up and started climbing. I personally didn't even realize that, to be honest. My entry was based off of something completely different, but I could have used that with my analysis on the re-entry, on a technical standpoint. But again, it's just going to show that break, that retest, and look at this continue to climb. Can't get any better than that. So our next targets, again, using structure. Look left to get right. I'm going to go ahead and do this. Targets, can't spell. Targets 2, which right now, in the sense, I think we actually, our entry is a little bit lower than that. Oh no, just at that retest, perfect. And just so that way you can see, we're getting in at that double bottom retest. Look at the wick. I know the candles are all, looks weird with all the indicators, but this is the entry based off of or actually this was probably on a smaller time frame that I did the entry, probably the 15-minute time frame, if I remember. Yeah. So we can see that it broke above the level of structure, came right back to retest that point for our initial entry. And our targets too being up here over 155 pips, which will be met, right? Anytime you see a market move and there's nothing in front of it, meaning that if we just look over here, it's kind of like no man's land. There's no structure. Oop, my tools don't want to work. There we go. There's nothing here. There's no structure. It's no man's land. It must reach this high in order for it to make its next decision, right? Because there's nothing stopping it until we reach this point. Why? Because we can see that at each time it reaches this point, it sells off. So if it reaches this area again, it has every opportunity to push down lower. So we, of course, want to take as much profits off the table as possible so that way if it does start to sell off, we don't get hit by any type of negative reactions to our buys. But let's say that level of structure is then broken, which is so beautiful, then our targets will be even higher and you're going to see a very similar or common theme here. Our targets are all the way up here, targets 3. Why? Because again, this is another level of structure and price. And it just keeps going that way, right? It's like levels. Once I get from the first floor, I got to get to the second floor. And if I have enough energy and wind to just not take the elevator, I'm going to go to the next floor, third floor, fourth. It's going to be like that. So targets 3. And then I'm not going to go any further from there because if we are patient enough and we are able to catch 240 pips off of one trade, 2 entries, that's more than enough, right? And the reasoning on also why this seems like something we should be holding, the continuation to the upside is strong, is if we go ahead and we just draw this out, we already have a broken trend line. Try to draw this out as perfect as possible. There we go. We already have a broken trend line, right? A bearish trend line was made in this entire move, and that has now been broken. And obviously, not just broken, it was retested, or at least the market tried to sell and close below it, but it got completely rejected. So, with that, it shows us a continued buy. Right, we should be looking for not just continued buys here on USDJPY, but maybe that should show us more buys on other yen pairs, because if you go ahead and take a look at CHFJPY on the auto trader, we're also in buys on this as well, right? Not doing the analysis on that, we just broke down USDJPY nicely, but what's that called? What that is called a correlated pair or correlated trading. I know that right now the yen, the Japanese yen, because we're trading USDJPY, is in fact weak. Maybe I can go look at other yen pairs that I can trade to capitalize on other entries for more profits. And also, if I'm looking at USDJPY as a positive trade, being that the dollar is strong, I can revert back and do the same looking at other trades or markets like GBP USD, as you see right here in the auto trader, has some sells. What that means is, again, correlation. I see that the dollar is gaining strength. Maybe I can go ahead and identify the same strength of the US dollar in other markets. And that's just a little bit of game. That's just tip real quick. You know what I mean? That's just some free game right there. Some value. But as you can see right here, the analysis for USDJPY on the reasoning why the buys were made and why we are looking at these as our target zones, and also why we are looking to continue to hold this trade because we have already had the market leave the clues needed behind to show us that it is going to continue higher. Our targets will be hit. And if anything, if our targets are hit, they might just be completely smashed, right? They might just completely break above targets 2 without any type of respect, which will again give us a strong indication that we should hold to targets 3. And then let's say targets 3 is completely destroyed, it just bypasses and breaks above these highs here, then I'll go ahead and hold up until, let's say, this level of structure as well, which would be, that's insane. But you see what I mean? It's just identifying and using the clues that the market leaves behind. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully with the breakdowns, excuse me, hopefully the breakdowns of these charts and these trades that we enter in the auto trader do help in a sense of getting some knowledge so that way you could enter your own trades. If there is something that you need help with, if you are confused on something, feel free to hit me up at any point. I do want to make sure that education prevails over everything. Yes, we have an automatic or an auto trader. It automatically trades for you. You do nothing. But at the end of the day, education and knowledge is going to make you the most amount of money. There's no system, there's no platform, not myself, not anything. There's no guru answer to anything. You yourself will be able to make you the most amount of profits just by the confidence that you have within your own abilities. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully with the more videos that I post up, they do allow you to place your own trades. Again, if you have any questions, need any type of help, feel free to hit me up at any point. I'm always going to be available and assist anyone at any time. So with that being said, thank you so much. Tell somebody you love them, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks, guys.